Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another week of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins. It is great to have you with us, and we are going to talk some Furman football today as preseason camp moves on with head coach Clay Hendrix. How you doing?
I'm good. Just got I've been off the practice field about an hour and a half. But no, it's been good. Been a productive camp to this point.
I was going to say, you look like a guy who's incredibly relaxed to be right in the middle of the heat of August and trying to put a football team together and doing all the things that you do this time of year.
Well, we have as I like to say, this is the best staff I've ever worked for.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really good. I mean, really, the whole organization's like that. Everywhere from equipment to training room, it takes everybody. And days are long. I tell some of the old guys like me, the days of two-a-days, you don't have those, but the days are still long. We start usually in the morning at, I think breakfast is 6:45, and then you're usually out of here at 8:30, 8:45 is when we finish with them. So, long days. They aren't over here obviously all day. The coaches are, but it's been productive, and we're getting better, which is the goal. And we're not ready to play Ole Miss, but we'll get there. We'll get there as the time comes.
You're coming off of your first full scrimmage this past Saturday. You told me a moment ago you ran about 100 plays. What did you see?
Well, it was. I think it was our 11th. It was our 10th practice in 11 days, so you can tell we're a little tired. Ran about 100 snaps of live football, and then probably, another 25 of some kind of 11-on-11 special teams where we didn't go live tackle. But no, that was the goal is to play a lot of football. And, between last spring and what we've done so far, we've probably tackled more than we have in the last 2 or 3 years combined.
Mm-hmm.
So now that certainly can't continue, So I think part of the thing as a coach is trying to figure out where that line is. But I thought we had really good work. Certainly, everybody will ask about the quarterback position. I think we've had good play out of all three of those guys. We're going to get to a point certainly where you can't get three guys ready to play a game. And got some really good competition. I think some of the better competition, that sometimes it's to be a starter, sometimes it's just to be a two, sometimes it's just to get on the bus, as we say. Special teams, we've got competition for long snapper, we got competition to be the holder, we got competition, really be the backup punter and kicker. So, really good competition. We tried to create as many of those opportunities as we could. But we watched the tape, which was the best thing you could do, learn from it, and I thought we had a solid day. We had a day off yesterday, and I actually told our team I was proud of how they handled the day off. Sometimes you come after those days off and practice isn't quite like you want it to be, but I thought our focus and work was good.
I know the very first day of practice when it was done, you challenged them a bit on their sense of urgency and the way they were going about things. I would hazard a guess to say that has gotten better.
It has. That's probably a broken record with me. I think I mentioned it again today. The one thing I told them Saturday, the one thing we didn't have officials, so we were spotting ourselves. So we didn't have the shot clock, which we need to do, and we will. Just because that's really one way, create some urgency, with getting calls in, and that's on coaches too, but getting calls in. But no, I've been pleased with how our preparation. I thought Saturday was sometimes our physicality. As I told him today, maybe it's an individual, maybe it's a group, maybe whatever that is, but that's just something that's not going to be tolerated around here, and we need to be a little better in that area. Certainly I think the mental aspect and the execution part is an ongoing forever. We could have this conversation, 12 weeks from now and probably say the same thing. But all in all, good progress. They're working good. They came back in good shape. I know I was a little concerned the first couple of days. We're having some cramp issues. It was really hot. And I don't know. It's funny, after about day 3 or 4, we hadn't dealt with much of that. It hadn't been as hot in the last week. But I think a little bit of that sometimes is the anxiety of getting going. Had a few newer guys, practicing with us. And then, we've invested in some technology, I think, to track these guys. And I saw Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, you know, Saturday, I think he ran 8,000 yards at practice in that scrimmage. You know, and I don't know how many plays he played. Probably, you know, we probably played at least 3 guys at his spot. So did he play more than – I don't know. We didn't do a lot of individual work, but he's just that kind of guy. But that little stuff's been good for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can see got some interesting data and, you know, but, you know, at some point, I told him from day one, I said, look, one of the things I promise you is we'll get your legs back. You know, we'll have you arrested when the time comes. But right now, that's not the case.
Right.
We got to push through, especially this week. And then, you know, after Saturday, you know, we're gonna, you know, I guess our fan day here. You know, it'll be a practice more or less for us. But after Saturday, the reps will change. You know, really, because up to this time, you're repping a bunch of guys. You think about Saturday. You know, if you're repping 90 guys, there are going to be a lot of mistakes, you know, and I don't know, we'll have 35 to 40 thinking they're going to play against, that you're truly going to play with against Ole Miss, you know, and so hopefully that'll help that.
I just kind of laughing in my head. You were talking about cramp issues the first couple of days, and I'd say it's probably a good thing that straightened itself out, because the last thing you want to do is have Andre Bernardi take that personally with either the coaching staff or with the players, right?
Well, you know, we our kids, the way we only get them for one semester of summer school, so they left, I think, July the 5th. So they're on their own for about 4 weeks, which I really don't concern myself with. I thought they came back in good shape. I was, you know, that concerned me a little bit. We also had 2 coaches cramp out there, so I'm not going to point any fingers at who that was.
Well, one of them wasn't Dwayne Vaughn, was it?
No, it wasn't
okay,
Dwayne,
good, because I was going to give Dwayne
might, because the way he sweats, he might be a little more of a candidate, but I don't know. I think we've managed that well, and they've done a good job of doing the things they need to do to go out there and practice, and you know, so that'll be something you'll continue to work with.
Over the years, during your time back here as head coach, and you're going into your 8th season, you've handled both the spring and the preseason differently. Sometimes you tackle more, sometimes you tackle less. Is there a formula or a philosophy about what you do, why you do it one year and why you don't do it the next, or is it just the feel for what maybe this particular team needs?
Well, I wish I knew, but for me, I don't know. It's just kind of a feel for what you think you need. You know, a year ago we were so old and so experienced, and we were still really thin in the offensive line.
Right.
You know, and so it's just balancing the work you need. Again, we'd had a ton of guys that had a ton of tackle reps in games, and that was when we made a conscious effort in the spring to do a lot of it, as much as we ever have, and we did, and was pleased. You know, and you know, again, how much do you do, and you know, take the chance you're gonna have some injuries and those kinds of things. But we've had a, you know, knock on wood, pretty healthy camp, and Andre's had very little, very few visitors to Muscle Beach, and I've already noticed a couple of these young guys that discovered Muscle Beach for the first time. It has a way, if you're not really hurt, to get you back pretty quickly. So I think they find out that's much more challenging than even practice. So, but you know, it's nice to look down there and not have a ton of yellow jerseys. You know, so that's been good, and that's a credit to him, because I think that's something you gotta develop way before now, and then the mental toughness aspect of, you know, being able to learn to push through things that, yeah, I don't feel perfect today, but I can go practice hard still and get better.
Well, we've talked about it before. There's a difference between being hurt and being injured. You can play through hurts and bumps and bruises sometimes. It's injuries that obviously you can't play through.
No doubt, and you know, I think the other thing, you can be in shape all you want, but you got to play yourself into playing shape. It's just different. You can go out there and run, but you know, just the, you know, another big body you're leaning on, you know, and just the strain, I guess, it's just something you got to put them in, and those, you know, and I think the first drive Saturday, I think the offense had the ball for maybe 14 plays, and we ended up turning, you know, defense got a pick, which is what you want to see happen. But, you know, I don't know how much we subbed offense probably didn't sub as much as we did on defense, but you need some stuff like that. And sometimes you have to create that, by what you do at practice. That one kind of happened naturally the way that I think we went for it on a fourth down early and kind of made it, and it extended the drive. So I think those are things you got to continue to do.
You mentioned being thin at the offensive line a year ago, going into practice. You lost quite a bit of experience off that line, and I talked to Matt McCutcheon about it last week for a video we did for our fans, and it's an interesting dynamic because on one hand you've got a number of guys with starting experience, but not a whole lot of guys who've jumped up and really claimed a job yet. What would you say the status of your offensive line is right now?
I'd say the same thing. I probably said going in. We're still not as deep. I'm hoping after another recruiting cycle, we can be where we want to be. But that group, if we play tomorrow, where you kind of draw the line, there's 6 guys that have played a lot of football, and I think 2 or 3 of those guys are fifth-year seniors, and 2 or 3 are fourth-year guys. Mm-hmm. And then Chris Loon is probably the one young guy. We prepared Chris last year to be the backup center all year and never had to – I don't know how much he played in the game, but we redshirted him. So we prepped him for that. So it's still a pretty experienced group. Now, there's a good number of young guys in the next mix, and so Matt, who does a phenomenal job, has done a really good job of bringing those guys along. And, there's going to be our team – I don't know. There's going to be a small handful of true freshmen that are going to figure into the mix, and quite a few redshirt freshmen because, again, we didn't have to play a lot of guys, last year's freshmen. So, but I think that's still kind of the case. You'd like to stay healthy there, but I've been pleased that group. They're. I think I was telling Justin Roper the other day. They rarely bust an assignment. I think they're a fairly athletic group. Play with pretty good pad level, or they Jake Johanning? No, we hadn't had many Jake Johannings around here, even Pearson Toomey. But, Jake, I think, missed the first 3 games a year ago. Mm-hmm. We had 2 guys out. I know first game, South Carolina, we had 2 guys out. So you play the hand you're dealt, and, we've continued to develop and, really liked the freshman group really on our whole team. I think in recruiting when you get them, what you want is you want to think you got what you thought you were getting. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many of them will figure in this year. Some will. But I think it's a chance. It's a group's got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah, because the next time that a coach stands up on signing day and says, "Well, we didn't get what we wanted," that'll be the first time that ever happens, right?
No doubt. Well, recruits just like this time of year. Everybody's undefeated. Everybody feels great about it. You hadn't played a game, and it's amazing. You're gonna play. Whatever it is, August 31st, and half teams in the country are gonna have a loss. And so, how do you go from there?
Right.
But again, we just try to worry about, today, and we'll get up tomorrow. I think I told you this, August camps is for you old guys that've seen the movie Groundhog Day, it's Groundhog Day.
Yes.
You get up and do the same thing all over again, and it's going to change a little bit. We're going to do the same thing tomorrow we did today, and we'll probably do it again on Wednesday. So, and it's just, continue to push through it and staying focused. And, again, controlling the things you can control.
Visiting with Clay Hendrix on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Reaching about the midway point of camp. It won't be too long till the students are here, and then obviously all the focus is going to change to get closer to game week opening up at Ole Miss. The last 2 seasons, obviously, you've had so many old guys. 41 seniors, I think, walked at the end of last year, and that's a luxury to have. And at the same time, you have always been talking about how excited you are about the young guys. And you mentioned the freshmen, redshirt freshmen, who will be in the mix this year. Does that kind of get your motor running to have a different dynamic and to get to see what these young guys can do and have a chance to earn some meaningful playing time this year?
Well, I've Dwayne and I were talking about this. I was kind of looking forward to August for that very fact. Whereas last year I felt like it was how do we get through August, and try to have all of our horses ready, at the end of the – and, yeah, you still want to continue to do that, but also this August has been different because the competition really at spots. So I've kind of enjoyed that. I don't know, and I think, Dan, if you think back hard to 22, we finished the season pretty good, 21. After a really, 20 was a rough year in lots of ways. Played the 2 seasons and the quarterback, but the 22, I don't know what, I'd be interested to know if you go back and look what people thought about us. I don't know. They probably thought we were 4th or 5th or something. I don't know. I need probably to look that up. But I don't know that group. Certainly, Tyler Huff was a big part of that quarterback play, which is a huge part of our game. Kind of came in there, and yeah, we did have some veteran guys, and a few young ones too. But and again, last year was just. I think last year is one of those years the numbers aspect of it will never quite be the same. I think you can say this. There's a lot of things we can do better than we did a year ago. We thought we played really good defensively almost the whole year. Offensively, I don't know. I thought we were really inconsistent. We didn't run the ball particularly well. Late in the year we were really beat up. We almost didn't have a running back that could play. There towards the end of the year, Tyler was not quite the same. So I don't know. I think we got a chance offensively to really challenge some people in some different ways, or make them defend the whole field a little bit more. And that's kind of what excites me.
Where would you say your quarterback battle is right now? You mentioned 3 guys, and at some juncture, as you said a moment ago, you're not going to be able to continue preparing 3 guys to play. Where does that stand right now?
Oh, good question.
Well, that's,
I
that's
thought,
what supposedly I'm paid for.
Well, I thought they all 3 Saturday did some good stuff, and I don't know. People say, well, wouldn't you want one to distance themselves from others? Yeah, maybe so. But I've also been part where nobody steps up and make plays. When you've had some competition, they've all had their moments. I really think probably by the end of this week, I think we'll have a little better idea. And I think the way our schedule sets up, we'll go to Ole Miss, and that'll be the most important game on our schedule because it's the next game.
Right.
It's probably the least important game on our schedule. So we got 4 non-conference games before our conference schedule, which really matters the most. And do you have a situation where you can play multiple guys? Maybe, because again, until you get in those game situations, you don't really know. Certainly, Carson has proven, he's a guy that we can win games with. But still, I guess a 3rd-year guy, 2nd-year guy, and a 1st-year guy, and he's a little different 1st year because he was here all spring. But I don't know. Like I said, by the end of the week, I would think probably would narrow it to 2. And you'd still get a 3rd guy ready, but it's different, But you really invest in the 2 guys.
You can look at physical playmakers, and you've got some guys who potentially can be huge playmakers on both sides of the ball. But one of the things that I know you appreciate as a coach, and I've come to appreciate watching your teams play, is that 1 or 2 guys that just seem to have the intangibles, and you talked about Tyler Huff the last 2 years and what he did in the amount of offense that he took on himself. So that's something that's going to have to be replaced. But as last year went on, defensively, every time late in a ball game a big play needed to be made, Callie Chizik stepped up and made the play, and it was. On one hand, it was incredible. It's like there's no way he can do it again. And on the other hand, it was like you almost set your watch by it because you knew if a big play needed to be made, he was going to do it. Who do you see either side of the ball that has potentially that kind of those kind of intangibles when it comes to just being the right guy in the right place at the right time?
Well, I think I really think defensively, I think it starts up front. The front 7, and I think Evan DiMaggio. him and Luke Clark, I was trying to decide which one I was going to nominate for Player of the Year and preseason Player of the Year. I think they're as good as they are as in our league. I think our guys up front. I think we got multiple guys there, and again, some guys you really won't hear their name much until it finally gets called out because, he's been able to redshirt and develop. And Kevin's done a great job bringing them along. I think the secondary, there are some playmaker guys back there who just need some game experience, which is everybody has to get game experience at some point in time. Caleb Williams is a guy that just keeps coming up, man. He's one of those just dependable guys, smart. And I was telling you, he's just the way he practices his leadership, on the back half. But I don't know. I think we got a number of those guys. It'll be interesting to see kind of how that develops. And then, I'm really kind of interested offensively. I really like the group of backs, just like I did last year. And then, Dom was hurt most of the year, ended up having, surgery after the season. Bunch of those guys, I feel good about that group. I think they've had a terrific camp. I made the statement. I actually made it. Matt McCutcheon and I were talking the other night. The next morning I walked out, and Dwayne brought it up to me. We did some 11-on-11 at practice, and I'd made the comment, I thought we made more plays in that 11-on-11 at the running back position more than we made all last year combined. Mm-hmm. Winning one-on-ones, making people miss. Well, I walked on the field, and Dwayne came to me and said the same thing. He said, "Hey, Coach, did you notice this?" So I think that group certainly starts up front, and then I think the ability of some receivers because of the skill set of our quarterbacks. Josh Harris, the best he's been. He's had a really, really good camp. He's been a really productive guy his whole career. Colton Hinton's a dynamic guy. I don't know. He gets balls and he makes plays. I think there's some young guys there, but again, I'm hoping what you see is just as a team, we got more guys that can make those kinds of plays, and you're not dependent on one guy to be the guy that does it.
Well, and the one thing about it, it's game experience that's going to bring that out. You can't get it until you get it, right?
No question.
As we get into wrap-up mode here, what's the schedule like for the next couple of weeks?
Well, we're heading in. I think tomorrow is. I think tomorrow's practice 12. The way ours is done, always counts back. We get X number of practices before the first game.
Right.
Sometimes we may not even use them all. We'll go every day this week through Saturday. There'll be some days I don't like going to 6 straight days of hard stuff. So we'll have a day probably in there. We'll go significantly lighter. But we play 2 weeks from Saturday. I think probably staying in camp mode through about Tuesday of next week, and then we'll turn to Ole Miss. At that point in time, we start school a little later. We start school, I think, the Tuesday of the Ole Miss game. So I don't know, about a week and a half out, we'll turn towards prepping for them. And I think fortunately, sometimes on your schedule, you may have an opponent that maybe's a little unique. Maybe you're playing a triple option team. We don't really have that. Most of the people we see are a little more conventional, so you don't feel like you need to invest time for them. Ole Miss is funny. They do a lot of things similar to Samford, from the tempo aspect. So, we have a good plan for how we want to practice for that. But that'll be kind of the plan, getting our guys fresh, really for us to have any kind of chance, just having our guys fresh and playing fast. And it'll kind of be that. I think that's a goal of ours every week, but I think especially, early in the year.
What'd you tell me at the start of practice? This is year 39 for you at Furman?
This is 39. Well, it's 39 coaching.
Coaching.
It's year 31 at Furman.
31 at Furman.
And then I think I got about 9 more in there as a player. So, and I promise you, it's harder as a player than it is as a coach. The days are a little longer as a coach, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Doesn't look like it's wearing and tearing you down too much.
Well, this is like I said, I really enjoy our staff. I just, for me, still what drives me is the people I get to work with, the kids we get to coach, and we have phenomenal. Our kids they're just awesome, and Yeah, we got one that's a knucklehead every now and then, but they're awesome, and and I like to win, and I
Yeah.
like to compete, and I always feel like we can do that. And, we've certainly got our unique challenges here, but everybody has them. Everybody has their own unique challenges, and there's been a bunch of people before us that had those same challenges and didn't let it bother them. So we're trying not to let them bother us too.
I know that on one hand, polls don't quote unquote mean anything because the Southern Conference schedule is going to largely determine what happens. But on the other hand, as we have seen over the years and we experienced last year, the higher you start, the more room that you may have for a mistake or so along the way. So you're starting 12th in the Stats Perform poll. You're starting 9th in the coaches poll. Does either one of those mean anything to you at this juncture of the year?
The only thing that means to me a little bit, when we came back here as a staff, was trying to, I used to say, we want to bring championship football back to Furman. And, we want to be a perennial top 10 team. And I think this, we had 41 seniors, and they voted us 12th in the country, and even where we were picked in the preseason in our league. And, I don't know. That's where you want to be thought of as a program. Now, you guys still got to go earn it. That can change. That can change quickly. If you don't go take care of business. But I don't know. Certainly, the polls matter. That's where we want to be. If you can stay in that range, you're going to have a shot. You're going to have a shot to get in there and then see what you can do. And again, I like this team. I got a lot of belief in this team, and I think we've kind of built this program that way. And we'll have to handle. There'll be lots of adversity. And there'll be some success too. And how you handle both is really going to determine it more than anything else.
Starting from play one, game one.
No, no doubt. I don't know. I don't know. Whoever picked this one. I was sitting there the other night, and I think it was CBS Sports Network had that Inside College Football. And I just happened to sit there, and I knew a few that when I was at the academy, they did a lot of our games. So I got to know a couple of those guys because they were at our games all the time. And they had a whole segment on the transfer stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, who's the first school that pops up?
Yeah.
Was Ole Miss, and started talking about, I think they had 25, and, it's pro football. That's what college football has become at that, especially at that level. It's pro football. They're just buying players and paying players. And, and you watch them on tape, which I hadn't watched tons of them, but you watch them on tape and you're like, I'm not sure these guys are even going to be playing. They were pretty good with who they had, and then they've added all these other guys. So, and it's a little bit that way in our league too. I don't know who's got who coming back in. We're probably one of the few teams that looks. Well, there's a few in our league, but there are not many of us that are going to look similar personnel-wise to what they finished the season with.
I don't know. I guess I'm just old school enough to think that there's something kind of comforting about that, and that's that's still the way it should be done.
Oh, there's no question about that. I'm hoping FCS football in general. There's one of the last true college athletics.
Yeah.
We're really. I'm like you. I don't know. It's always professionals were people that had earned the right to go get paid to do what they do. Mm-hmm. But I can't see too many high school guys that have done that. So yeah. I don't know. It's like I said, we got our own unique challenges, but our kids are, when it comes time to go, they'll crank it up and go. They'll make Furman people proud and by how they play and how they compete and how they represent our university and what they're going to be doing after school. And I think that's what's most important.
Very quickly, as we wrap it up, what will fans or can they expect to see on Fan Day Saturday here at Paladin Stadium?
Well, I think we may do some level. You'll see a lot of a practice, and a lot of that is their 11-on-11. How much tackling we'll do, I don't know. We're 2 weeks from playing. We've done a lot of that. But I don't know if you've ever. I don't know as a fan. I've always thought, man, I think the practices are pretty cool to watch. Whether it's your pass scale 7-on-7 stuff you're doing, the 1-on-1 drill stuff you do. We'll do team a little bit. You'll probably see a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. But and if we certainly will do some 11-on-11. How much tackling we'll do, I don't know. I'll see where we are physically at the end of the week, and I promise you there'll be a few guys you're not going to see get tackled on Saturday. and again, just I like where we are. Still got a lot of work to do, but it'll be a fun day.
Quarterbacks and broadcasters will be in red on Saturday. Hey, Clay, as always, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
That is Clay Hendrix. Hey, we got a lot more football coming your way, not only in Inside Furman Athletics, but all season long, and we're looking forward on the broadcast team via our flagship station, the Fan Upstate, to get you ready starting with that first game on August 31st at Ole Miss. That has been this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. For Clay Hendrix and all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you, and so long, everybody.